I was in a small town with my mother, a small town in the Eastern Cape called Tabankulu. Yeah. So my mother's a teacher, so she teaches primary school kids. She's been doing that for the past 30 years.
Sure.
Right. My father at the time was deployed as a soldier with the South African National Defence Force.
My pen. And then you get to UCT, you study actuarial sciences. Was it always part of the plan, or you stumbled across? Did you know what actuarial sciences was?
It was always, it seemed cool to be in a profession where you have money. My friends at the time were in influence. Like, if you become a CA, you can drive a Mercedes. You live in nice areas, and etc.
Is it just nice? Why are you pointing at my house?
So second year, I changed. I'm no longer a nerd now. So in second year, I went for a JUSO, the EDU student organization.
Sure.
I was busy having posters all around campus for people to vote for me. I got a girlfriend. I started living a life. I got into societies. I just explored the full opportunities that were presented in a space like a UCT.
Sure.
But as you'd imagine, the consequence of that, your marks.
Yeah.
Right.
In the show, I just want to ask for a huge favor. What's crazy is 94% of you guys that watch this show haven't yet subscribed. So if you love what we do here, I just want to ask for one small favor. Please subscribe to our channel. It helps the channel grow, and it helps us reach the masses that we want to be able to reach. And I promise you, if you do that for me, I will make this show better. I will get the guests that you want me to get and speak to, so that we can make this experience a better one.
Yongs, welcome to the show, my brother. I think I was telling someone outside before we started rolling the cameras that I knew you from UCT, and for me, those are the memories that I have of who Yongama is.
Yeah.
But it's always said, Uguti, if you want to get to know a man, just try and understand their childhood memories, right?
Okay.
So anything and everything that you can remember from when you were born up until the UCT stage.
Okay.
Take me through the journey. Who is Yongama? Where do you come from? Who are your parents? Anything that you can remember.
How many hours do you have?
We've got all the time in the world.
Okay, I'll try not to dwell on some stuff
Sure.
In the childhood, because again, I would spend days talking. But otherwise, earliest memory I have, so I was in a small town with my mother, a small town in the Eastern Cape called Tabankulu. Yeah. So my mother's a teacher, so she teaches primary school kids. She's been doing that for the past 30 years.
Sure.
Right. At the time, I'm maybe 3 years old, so my earliest memory is 3 years old. So my mom, when I think about it now, probably not the best parenting, but a community, it takes a village to raise a child. Mama used to, I didn't go to preschool, so at 3 years old, Mama, it was just her and I. My sister, I think, was a hostel, boarding school somewhere. So I was the only one, because it was just my sister and myself at the time. So my sister and myself, and my sister, and she's in boarding school. Now I'm living with my mother, right? My father at the time was deployed as a soldier with the South African National Defence Force.
My pen.
So at the time, he was never there much because of his job.
Yeah.
So your lady used to leave me, with instructions. Okay, this is how you're gonna do your breakfast, your lunch, etc. I'd watch TV. She'd give me instructions like, don't go outside, here and there. Of course, as soon as she leaves, I go outside.
Sure.
I formed a lot of friends in the streets that did not go to primary school. Now, the interesting part about the reason I remember that particular part of 3 years old is, from as early as that, I remember I could count. I remember I could speak English. I remember I used to instruct my friends from the streets of what kind of money to steal from their mother's drawer for us to go get biscuits. Right? And I remember now, a few years back, I asked my mother when I was back home in December for holidays, where did I learn how to count? Like, where why was I stealing 10 rands in the drawer, go to the shop? I know exactly what change needs to happen. They only found out when I was 5 or 6 years old that I'd been skimming money for about the past 3 years. They were impressed and shouting at me at the same time.
Sure.
They took me to a lounge with Makoko. I'm there. Everyone is pointing out money, like, they show you 50 rand. For what is this? I'm like, 50 rands. Yeah. What is this? That time I'd been stealing. But apparently my mother, when I was 3 years old, bought me one of these tablets that are not tablets. You know those tablets for kids?
Yeah,
and
that
stuff?
has numbers and stuff.
Yeah, like if you get 1 plus 1 correct, it says hooray.
Yes.
If you get right. Similarly with language, it was a combination of that, and she used to leave me with a lot of TV shows that I used to watch because I had nothing else to do besides that and go out in the streets. So as soon as I started grade 1, I excelled in anything numbers related, language related. The only thing I think at the time was maybe the way I pronounce words, right? Because it's one thing to be able to know the English language. It's another to pronounce
speak it,
words
yeah.
in a specific manner, right? Because this accent came maybe metric first year, somewhere there. But yeah, when I started high school, it was determine, not determine.
Yeah.
Just,
Sure.
but that's sort of like, I could go on forever. But that's the earliest childhood memory that I have.
That's actually fascinating. So, mom would go to work and leave you by yourself at 3 years old. Sure. What does that teach you looking in hindsight, or rather looking now and just reverting back to that? What do you think that taught you as a person?
No, look, when I think about it, practically, if I were to have children, I don't have them yet, right? If I was to have children, I would imagine leaving them behind. Probably not the best decision. However, context is important.
Yeah.
Again, it takes a village to raise a child, and the context that was a village, or that is a village, where when they see Yongama, or my nickname Maputi, oh yeah, nangu Maputi, hey, Buelendlin, oh hey, Maputi wenzani. You have community people around that are actually community people around that do know you. So it's not like you're living in an apartment block or townhouses like this, where you might be going outside and no one knows who you are, or there's some danger. It's a village. It's more safe and stuff. However, it would be ideal to maybe go to daycare or something, or having structures like that. But
Sure.
at the time, it just was that. I didn't know anything to compare it to. It's just how life was supposed to happen, I guess.
And then the relationship with your father, obviously he's busy with grenades and everything during your upbringing. Did you ever have a proper setting where you get to know who he is, what he does, why the army and all that?
No, not at all, actually. Partly because, it was the absence because of the job, right? But also, by the time that my brain was getting to a point where maybe I could understand things, he passed away in grade 6. So he had a pneumonia. I remember I went to a hospital in East London called Frey Hospital. I saw him for the last time there, and it was pneumonia. So he caught pneumonia while he was on duty, and things went sideways, and he passed. So I didn't really have time to have conversations or stuff like that. I barely remember things
From him?
Yeah.
When you see people with mothers and fathers, do you then feel as though, I wish I had my dad around, or?
No. And the reason I say this is, when you get to UCT, for example, we form a lot of friends, right? There are friends that have mothers and fathers. There are friends that only have a father, which is a rare population. And then you have friends that only had mothers. For me, it was tough to wonder I think I might have thought that way if I had a father for some time and then, he passes away, and then I miss all the things I used to do with my father or something like that. It's just, I just knew the life with my mother. I didn't know an alternative. And I didn't spend time thinking about what if my reality was different than it currently is. I just tried to make the best out of the reality I had. So I never really spent time wondering what life would have been like if it wasn't like my life, specifically in that area of parenthood. I think my mother did a good job.
Sure.
In making me not notice that there might be a gap, right? Of course, ideally, I would want to be present and my children's mother to be present. But for me, I didn't feel the void much, either because my mom did a good job or because I just like focusing on my life and not dwelling on how it would look like if it was different.
Okay. And then maybe let's focus a bit on schooling then. You go through grade 1 to 7, 8 to 12, and then UCT. I think I met you at UCT, and when I got to UCT, I just saw the smart guy, right? And I remember we were talking, you and I, to say, oh, we know the same people at Saika because we kind of did the same things, but year after year, right? You were first, and then I followed on your footsteps. But yeah, schooling, obviously, mom bought you these tablets. You were a smart kid. How's your schooling journey looking like?
Yeah, no. Now that I think about it as we're having this conversation, my mom did do quite a bit of things that, now that I think back, maybe might have helped me along the way. Whether it is the tablet at 3 years old or in grade 5, since she's a government worker, they were selling, it was Windows 1995, was it? Yeah, they're selling computers, you know. Remember back when computers had CPUs and your monitor, mouse, etc. And they were just filled with educational content. There was maths, there was English, Xhosa, Zulu, Venda, natural sciences. It had everything. And the way that it was structured, it was gamified. So, for example, if I go into the maths one, I would enjoy and I'd spend hours just doing those questions because I'm getting to level 1, level 2, level 3. It was a game. And I enjoyed the game, but I was learning within the game, right?
Sure.
So small things like that, I suppose, helped. So by the time I got to grade 7, I was the top in mathematics, but I was not the top overall. It was a guy called Lunga Vagalisa. He was very good overall. Just always did his homework.
Yeah.
Me, I was just a maths guy. Maths, English. Yeah, it was maths and English, I think I focused on. So I go to high school in a different province. So now I'm going from a village in the Eastern Cape, Mount Elif. So I lived in Tabankulu, went to school in Mount Elif. So it's one of those things where you live in one village and then the school is in the nearby town.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. So you get to public transport that fetches you guys every morning, passes by every village to get the kids and then delivers you in school and then picks you up later. Right?
Sure.
Cool. So now I leave that being the top student in the maths part. I get to Karina Secondary in Pietermaritzburg. So now, just to give you a bit of a picture, Karina is, I'd say, so all the teachers were Indian except for the Zulu teachers.
Sure.
Yeah. So all teachers were Indian except for the Zulu teachers. It's predominantly black people, right?
Okay.
So I'd say about maybe 35% Xhosa, although it's in KZN. And then maybe 35% again Zulu, and then 30% Indian. I'm overestimating the proportion of Indians. But that was the picture.
Sure.
I get there. I was just a kid. In grade 8, when you introduce yourself, the teacher would go, so you stand up, tell us your name, tell us your surname, and tell us what school you come from. I remember people would stand up, hi, my name is so-and-so, I come from Greenwich Second Primary School, Then everybody stand up, and then I stand up, hi, my name is Yongama Giwu, I come from Sakesizo Senior Primary School. And then the teacher asks, is that a black school? I'm like, yes. And, there were just these questions that they just kept asking, like, oh, you can speak English. Yeah. But then the kids don't have messing in Karina. I remember that determine versus determine, because I said determine out loud in class during a sentence. Boy.
They chowed you.
Oh, they ripped me apart. I never forgot the difference. So,
Yeah.
my determine is determine. My economics is economics. So you learn just to change these things a bit.
Sure.
So yeah, then I was just good in the maths part and all of that stuff. But I only started taking it seriously when I got to grade 10. Because things got a bit tougher. It was not the me listening in class, then going to write. It was now, suddenly from 90 something, why am I seeing my first test being a 70 something? Like, whoa, what's happening here? Right? So that's when I started trying to get the habit of getting a book, reading.
Sure.
Right? Because in the textbook, it will tell you, this, and this. It will define things. You'll get examples. You know the principle yourself, right? You don't depend on a teacher to tell you what's what, or how good they are as a teacher or how bad they are as a teacher shouldn't reflect on your marks.
Sure.
Because you can go read, right? So I started from there. I was the top student in the maths and the physics of the world, and then came to matric. I got my 8 distinctions. I think that's probably still the best achievement in my entire life. I promise you. I still think that's the best achievement I've ever had.
Sure.
Only because I was not an A student. I had to change my habits so much to become one. Like, I had to have discipline I never had before. Because this thing of going in class, understanding maths and just doing things is different than now you have to sit down, you have to study, you have to be disciplined. Because other subjects don't come as naturally to me as mathematics does. You have to be an all-rounder now.
Sure.
It's time to be an all-rounder. And the discipline I had to have, the belief I had to have in myself to accomplish that, which is why I still hold it at a high esteem to me personally. Inside of me. So that's then what happens right before I go to UCT.
Sure. That's crazy, because now it sounds as though you are a victim of a proper setting where your mother planned out how she wanted your life to be, right? You had the tablet, you had the computer, and you're playing all these games, and someone might not have that, right? So what would be the one thing that you think you lacked in your childhood that you may be thinking now, if I had this, maybe I would be a better person? Or if, let's say, you didn't have the tablet and everything, obviously it's a hypothetical question, do you think you'd still be the smart gentleman that you are today?
I think those things like the tablet at 3 years, the computer at grade 5.
Yeah.
I think they were nice to haves. I genuinely wanted to go study somewhere outside of my neighborhood. And there are a couple of things I tried before I got to the education part that didn't work out. I tried to be in the national team for cricket, because in the Eastern Cape, cricket was a thing. I was like, if I could just be so good at this thing, I could leave this environment. I could get something out of this. I also tried other things. I tried music. I was like, Chief, I was in the studio.
Sure. Rapping.
Yes. I was like, okay, either I can do it in sports, either I can do it in entertainment, right? Because back where I'm from, it's not like Johannesburg. It's a village, Chief. Like, the only thing you can do is be a teacher, a police officer, or work in the municipality. Those are the good jobs. Everything else, it's like, there's nothing to do, right? So if you want to have a better future, you have to try something that's going to get you out of this kind of setup, right? Of course, I love my hometown, I love my mother, my family, but if you wanted to have the kind of futures that we ended up having, you need to go develop somewhere else. So for me, as early as we knew that when we were in primary school, we needed to do something great enough to get us out of there. So when these sports and entertainment didn't work out, the thing I saw as next best was the maths and the stuff. So I was like, I'm really good at this. So I intentionally then dug into it, right? And then I saw it just kept working out, And yeah, so even if the tablet, I don't know, but how I think of it, I don't know about the tablet because I think that helped a lot because it's the beginning of time.
It's the inception, yeah.
The computer, nah, that one I just had a nice time playing a game.
Okay.
Right. Because after that, it was okay. Yeah, I've had enough of the education games. Where's Need for Speed? where's FIFA?
Yeah.
Right.
Gone.
Yeah. So I don't think that one played a big part. I think the tablet played a big part from the beginning.
And then you get to UCT, you study actuarial sciences. Was it always part of the plan, or you stumbled across? Did you know what actuarial sciences was?
Grade 10, LO, life orientation. The one we think is useless. Yeah, grade 10, we were given an assignment on careers. Go check out what career you want to be. So, of course, in Pietermaritzburg, it is a city, right? But we still didn't have access to things like Wi-Fi. I discovered those at UCT, right? So if you want to research anything, you need to go to internet cafe or a library.
Sure.
Right? To connect to the internet. And then so during that time, I remember my matrix was, I wanted something that involved numbers as a career and made money, right? So I was like, my metrics are, I need to be able to have resources to take care of myself and my family. But I also really enjoy this maths thing that I've really been working on right now in grade 10. What kind of careers pop up when I use this as a criteria? And then in that list, you had actuarial science right at the top. And at the time, I think Forbes was calling it sexiest job in the world or something like that. And then after that, while I was busy with that assignment, I saw that we had a society in South Africa called ASA, the Actuarial Society of South Africa.
Sure.
And then they had an email address there. So I emailed that person, wrote an email. I'm like, hey, I'm doing grade 10. I stumbled upon this thing called Actuarial Science. I see you guys are the society. Any advice for me, right? Any advice for someone currently doing these subjects if they want to become an actuary, right? The person wrote back. I still have the email. I think I might have posted it 4 years ago on LinkedIn because I was going through my emails. I see something from like grade 10.
Sure.
I'm like, damn. And then I look this person up on LinkedIn. I'm like, damn, okay. Yeah, I found them. I posted it. I tagged them on LinkedIn. Yeah. So he responds back. He gives advice, says, this is the first great step. You reached out. It's like the maths and physics are undeniably, you need to be good at those, but also really focus on the English, the language, be able to communicate, articulate yourself, etc. Then he gave some other bit of advice in the email. I can share that with you. And then, so I started taking a lot of interest in it. From then on, I looked what bursaries are there, this, that, so that by the time I get to matric, I know what marks I need to get, etc. And that kind of drove me to be an 8A student. Otherwise, I would have been happy being a maths guy.
Damn.
I would have been happy being a maths guy.
I think your life has been luck after luck, right? I discovered actuarial sciences after registering at UCT for BCom accounting. I think I changed from my second year.
Okay.
Also, luckily enough, because I got really good marks in first year, right? But you found out, okay, cool, actuarial sciences, you wanted to make money. Why did money matter at that point? Because you're in grade 10, you are in a good school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why is money important at that point?
I think my friends might have something to do with it.
Your friends?
Yeah, in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so a friend of mine, Kanya, he always knew from the time he entered high school, Kanya, he was my best buddy in high school. From the time he entered high school, all he could talk about, CA this, CA that, CA this, CA that, chartered accountant. So Kanya, from the time he started EMS in grade 8, he wants to be a chartered accountant.
Sure.
Part of the reasons, of course, he was also influenced by his bigger brother and, other people. It was always, it seemed cool to be in a profession where you have money, right? Like your life could change if you become a CA. That was the selling point.
Sure.
Your life could change. So I wanted my life to also change, but I also wanted to do maths. I also wanted something that I genuinely would enjoy. I wouldn't want to go to a profession for the money's sake.
Sure.
Only, right? I'd want to enjoy what I do and still have resources. So I was trying to balance those two metrics, which is why the metric wasn't just money.
Sure.
Otherwise, I'd probably be an investment bank.
Sure.
Or asset manager or something, right? So, it was enjoyment and it was money. So I think my friends at the time were an influence. Like, if you become a CA, you can drive a Mercedes, you live in nice areas and etc.
Is this nice? Why are you pointing at my house? Guys, this is not nice. Don't get me killed by people. But okay.
I think so. I mean, I was a kid, so your things aren't that much thought out at the time. But to some degree, right? Because things like your friends do influence you.
Sure.
So for me, I was influenced by that, but I also just added a bit of an additional layer, which is I want to enjoy the thing I do.
Which is very important, right? So obviously, grade 1 to grade 12, you're cruising through UCT, you're smart, you're still cruising through because a lot of people, when I tell them about my first UCT encounter with a person was with you. First year during O week, you probably thought I was crazy. People are having fun, but there's this boy doing, I think it's second term work already, right? But for me, it was driven by I'm hungry and I'm not just hungry to do good. I've been good enough in my province and Gauteng. Every year I was always top 3, if not number 1.
That's crazy.
But now it's a matter of, okay, cool, I'm at UCT. Everyone is someone. Everyone at UCT is someone, right? I could be better at maths, but someone is better at English and pronouncing and whatnot and whatnot. So I just wanted to be different. And for me, I understood in order for me to be different, being an introvert, I needed to excel so that people, when they spoke about me, they were like, hey, and then I did my maths and then I did great and then ended up graduating with the degree that I wanted, which I'm happy with. But let's talk about maybe one failure that you encountered in the schooling system for yourself, if you can think of any, so that maybe someone listening to this can say, Yongama was just lucky, therefore his content is not relevant. What is the one thing that you can remember that where you failed or where you feel like you disappointed yourself and how you picked yourself up?
University.
That's fine too. Sure.
So I would say, man, look, my headspace when I was going into, give me a sec. So my headspace when I was going into first year actuarial science, it was, am I fit for this? In fact, my mindset was more on the positive side. It was, I am fit for this, I am coming to prove it.
Okay.
Right? I was like, they say this thing is hard. Can't be that hard. Can't be that hard.
And it wasn't.
Can't be that hard. So I go in, my first year, I was a nerd through and through. Right? So first year, I'm doing what you're doing. It's all week, I'm busy there. I'm already on MEM 1000. Right? Because I want, by the time things happen, I make sure my marks come out great. Because, there's the requirement of 70% for maths, 70% for statistics, etc. if you want to get into second year actuarial science, right? First year, got my 70s and 80s or whatever for maths and stats that were required, etc. So when I did that, to me in my head, I was like, okay, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. So second year, I changed. I'm no longer a nerd now. So in second year, I went into for EDUSO, the EDU student organization. I was busy with having posters all around campus for people to vote for me. I got a girlfriend. I started living a life. I got into societies. I just explored the full opportunities that were presented in a space like a UCT. But as you'd imagine, the consequence of that, your marks. Right? So, things went down in second year. Things went down, but and I remember when was it? It was second semester. Fees Must Fall was happening. Yeah, Fees Must Fall was happening. And I was like, hey, if these people didn't protest and I had to go write that exam,
You'd fail.
I would have lost my sponsors.
Sure.
I would have, like if I didn't. In fact, I think was that the year? Yeah, I think that was the
Yeah,
year.
because it was my first year, so it should have been the year. Yeah.
I think that was the year where I thought I was gonna fail a subject, and since I only have an Actuarial Science Scholarship, right, the South African Actuarial Development Program,
Sure.
if I fail or flunk out of Actuarial Science, I need to leave UCT unless I have someone else paying for whatever degree I change to.
Sure.
So now I have to either really, really pass this thing, or I need to get another sponsor fast. So I started doing applications, because I almost bet I thought I failed. Then results come out, I barely made it, but I didn't fail. I also got that sponsor in addition to my current sponsor for future hedging.
Yeah.
So I ended up having two bursaries. So it was the JSC and it was the South African Actuarial Development Program, which was nice for my pocket money, I suppose. But yeah, no. So my learnings from that almost failure, I mean, I had a lot of failed things within that year, but nothing that had a major setback. And then after that, I toned it down on all these community activities and went back to why I'm here. And then I just focused and locked into studying.
Yeah, I think, and it's important their why, right? Because I came into UCT and I tell the story and people say, you're just saying it because you've graduated and stuff. I didn't go to UCT because I thought I needed education or learning, right? I spent almost from second year all the way to honors. I wasn't in class. I was doing Samsung promotions. I was trying to figure out what is life, right? So then you graduate, you get your degree, and then you work a couple of firms.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in Yongama establishing his own thing, right? I want to talk about the entrepreneurship, the journey. But before we get there, I just want you to summarize the lessons that you think were important to shape you for your success in your own business that you got from corporate. Because people like you and I who understand what entrepreneurship is, we tend to be mistaken to look down on corporate, right? And for me, I'm doing ulwazi because I feel as though it's a burning desire, that's a calling, rather than just me wanting to be an entrepreneur. Even if it failed, I'm just going to be an entrepreneur. No, this is me saying I'm following a calling. For you, why did you leave corporate? What are the lessons that you got from corporate that shaped you as an entrepreneur today?
Firstly, you and I, you know this, are not the same.
Yeah.
You have a burning desire to be your own man in entrepreneurship, which is necessary in a context like South Africa. Right? For me, it wasn't something I've always wanted to do by any stretch of the imagination. I always just wanted to be in a position where I can solve problems and be rewarded for solving those problems, right? And corporate put me in that kind of position where you go, you solve client problems, especially me being trained in a consulting environment, right? You get to learn a lot of things, man. You get to learn from some of the best and bright people around you, right? So, because although you are clever, there are things you won't know until you go through them within a corporate setup, right? And then you have people that can guide you who've already done this, right? Second, I got to see what the other guys, which is the executives of the clients we are consulting for, what they care about, the way they think. And then that also shows me how we as consultants are then going to package things when we go to them to solve their problems. Right? It's almost, I didn't learn the technical bits, but I learned rules of engagement. Yeah, I would call it that. I'd call it rules of engagement. So much so that even when you have your own firm now, and you have clients that you go consult for, you are stealing or taking from that toolbox that you had learned being in a consulting environment with the safety of someone paying you a salary, right? Because you didn't have to worry about the administrative stuff like payrolls and like IT infrastructure, this, that, right? Getting clients and, marketing, sales. You didn't worry about all of those things. You just worried about doing your job and making sure that the clients are happy, right? And that toolbox is still very, very much useful.
Sure.
And within the safety, I need to repeat this, within the safety of a salary, right? But for me, at some point, things became repetitive. It got boring. That is the only reason I thought to myself, hey, man, look, I think I want to try something different. I want to try something new.
Sure.
So when I thought I wanted to try something new, that's when I explored different options. And, we wanted to work on something together.
Well, we're still going to work on it.
Yeah, within Ulwazi.
Sure.
Because that's the thing I really want to do.
Sure.
But I needed to solve for the thing of, okay, if I do go on a venture with you on Ulwazi, how am I going to sustain the life that I've built? Like, money needs to continue coming in while I take this risk, doing what I love and following a passion in the entrepreneurship space. So I thought, I need an organization that can generate money to sustain, my life, etc. So I started a consulting firm, getting a few clients in, and then once that's running itself, I can get someone else to go run it. And I just get the money that will ensure my security and safety, the safety I had within a corporate structure,
Sure.
while I pursue something else with you, for example, in Ulwas.
Sure.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does, right? I think you hammered on the important piece of the security, because people, I think, they leave jobs without thinking everything through, right? And I'm fortunate and blessed enough now to be working for a bank where I say, okay, cool, this is my bread and butter, and I respect the work and I do the work, I do what needs to be done, right? Sometimes I sacrifice some of my time and stay there until like 6, 8 p.m. on certain days when I have to deliver, right? While Ulwazi suffers. But also I have the joy of, on my weekends when I need to distress, I focus on my baby. But before we get into entrepreneurship and how is it going and stuff, I then post in 2021, 2022, I think. I was still Father Christmas. I had a lot of money. I remember I was posting on Instagram to say, ask for anything and I'll get it for you, right? And then you reply to that and you say, you want a gig at Universal Music.
Yes.
And I'm like, Chief, I can't even get you a contact. I know nothing about, or rather, I know what the business does, but I don't have contacts there. And then 3 months later, you end up being the head of analytics there. How did that happen? And also at an age where you're probably a year or two older than me, and now you have a job of people with 15, 20 years experience in our field. How does that happen?
So, the year is what? 2021. The year is 2021. I'm tired. I've been working for this consulting firm. I've learned a great deal from them. But I feel stuck. I feel like things are repetitive. I want to try something new. Not something new even. I've always wanted a year off. Like a year off to see if I just had a year to myself. What is this thing that I think I would do? Like, would I do the things I think I would do if I was given a year off? So I've always just thought about that. And I thought, okay, it's 2021. I've saved enough money. I've learned a lot from this job. 2022, I want to take a year off and do something. Let's see what can come out of it. Right? But while I was busy thinking about that, pop-up post on LinkedIn that Universal Music wants to start a data and analytics division for Africa. They want someone to go start it. You'll be reporting to the COO, etc. So I'm like, okay. I take my chances. I go to LinkedIn. I take my chances on LinkedIn. I look up the COO. Because it's written in the post, you're going to be reporting to the COO. I look up the COO. I write a message that says, hey, I heard you're looking for someone to do X, Y, and Z, and I think I'm the perfect guy for this. That's not how I said it, but that was the gist of the message. Not thinking anything of it. I'm just crossing fingers. I hope. I don't even know if she's in on LinkedIn. Does
Yeah.
she even post or
Sure.
anything? She doesn't post or anything, so I wasn't even sure if she'd see the message. Next thing, I received a LinkedIn invite from the HR from Universal. So I'm like,
She did.
The CEO saw it. She saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then from there, it was an interview process. Then, yeah, it was like an interview with the HR lady, interview with, the person would be my boss and two or three other people. And then it was a test on, things like Python, R, and statistics. And then it was a job offer. But the reason I took that within a year that I thought I'd be taking a gap year is because it was a year contract. Yeah, it was like a year contract. Let's see what can be done.
Sure.
Right. So I was like, let me let me see if I can spend this gap year doing this thing and see if I can live a different kind of life. I'm in Cape Town. Let me go to Johannesburg and see how things go. Does this gig economy work? Let's see. But by the time they offered me the contract, they offered me a 2-year contract instead. So I think they wanted me there a bit longer.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how the journey to get into the organization happened.
But then now you go from being, let's say, a senior data analyst, right? In our world,
Yeah.
just going to put rough numbers.
Yeah.
You're earning, let's say, 40K, 45 if you're lucky. And then now you get to be an executive where you're earning 6 figures now per month, right? How does that change Yongama's life and perspective of everything? I know the aim was to get money and have fun.
Yeah.
But then now everything changes. Now you've got responsibilities to take care of a team. How does that then shape you as a person? What are the lessons? What are the changes that are happening?
Okay, so I need to correct a few things in that question.
Forget the money.
No.
Okay.
Never mind the money.
Yeah.
One, it wasn't an executive position.
Okay.
Right? So it was I was in the management committee, not the executive committee.
Sure.
Right? So it was a position where it's like there's a function that's supposed to exist. It doesn't exist. We need someone to come and start it for us. Right? And it's early days. You're still doing that to yourself. Down the line, you can have your own team.
Sure.
But right now, you're still doing that yourself. Now, the money part, right? The money that I had received as an offer from that organization wasn't anything drastically different from what I received before.
Okay.
The thing that was drastically different was that I still had a contract with my previous employer, right? Where I told them I'll only work in the mornings. And then you still pay me that salary, right?
The same salary.
The same salary.
Yes.
And then I go to this side, and then from them, I'm going to work. I start working probably at around 10-ish, etc., and work, well, not around 10-ish, around 12-ish, and work for the remainder of the day. And then now, I can combine those two salaries, I'm not sure what things I can say on this podcast.
Don't mention numbers. Let's not talk numbers. Right?
But the point is, I had a good deal from my previous employer to still assist for, I think I had a 6-month or a year contract with them.
I think it was a year.
Yeah, a year contract with them to still assist, but only in the mornings. And then I had this contract gig from this new, in Johannesburg. And then the combination of those gave me this 6-figure what per month thing that you're talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went on then to study MBA, and I hate you for this because then you take a gig with Uber that was supposed to be mine. Funny fact. And then you stay with Uber. What does a day look like in that business? What were you doing? Because for me, it sounds like you went from data and consulting into still data, where hopefully by now, if management didn't change, you would be running your own team, right? And then now MBA, and then Uber comes through and say, hey, we want you to do 1, 2, 3, and then you go there. You said your previous, or rather your first employer, where you still had your morning contract, the reason why you left it because things became repetitive, but it still feels or seems like you're still in the same data journey, because even your company right now, that's still in the data and consulting phase. What is the change that you needed?
So, a lot of things.
Sure.
The question you just asked.
Yeah.
Remember, the change is I want to have time to myself to do the things that I want to do. We tried going for a contract,
Yeah.
the both of us,
Sure.
right? I was excited to do that, right? We were having that conversation end of 2023. Was that the end of last year?
No, we had it probably mid 2023 because I remember
Yeah,
towards
yeah,
the end.
I think it was September when
Sure.
we went for pitching or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to pitch at 20.
Don't mention the name.
No. I'm deliberately not mentioning that name.
Yeah, we went to pitch. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to pitch September, October 2023 because I
Yeah.
remember the budget thing in November 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, cool. So, yeah, so there's a lot of things you just said in your question, right? The thing I've always wanted to do was I've always wanted to help people within the education space, right? Hence, you and I last year, around September-ish, right, we went and we pitched an idea of how Ulwazi can assist a certain organization improve the pass marks or pass rates of their students, right? And so as we're doing that pitch in September 2023, I'm thinking, okay, 2024, this year, that's what I'm dedicating my time to. But I still need that safety of that salary that you would get from a job. So in order to do that, I had to start a consulting firm. I didn't think I would be in a position as I am now where I'm growing this consulting firm and it's my main focus. I thought I just needed a firm that has enough clients to generate the revenue I require and I can get someone to run it, right? While my focus would be on what we were busy pitching, right? And that's what I was excited about for 2024. So when that fell through early this year, I was like, okay, but now I have time. I can focus on this consulting firm, right? I can have a different vision for it to still incorporate developing people in an education kind of thing, just in a very different sense than what we had planned. Right. So that's the change I really wanted. I really want to do what I've always wanted to do, and that is be within the education space. But employ all the tools and techniques that I've learned from a technology aspect to improve education.
Sure. That's actually powerful. So, yeah, the deal that you and I were entering into was Ulwazi Analytics and how we're going to grow that piece, which next year, touch wood, given the pipelines that I have, we might actually kick off around June, July. There's some good contracts that may come through.
Okay.
But why education? You know, it's always fascinating to see. For me, I get this a lot, right? Even my family, they'll be like, I remember when I rekindled with one of my sisters late last year. She's like, dude, you studied the smart degree, UCT, first university in Africa, blah, blah, blah. And then you're just a tutor. Like, what is it about education? I'm like, she's actually short-sighted. I'm not going to judge. But there's much more we do than tutoring, right? We cure cancer. So for you, why education specifically?
For me, the reason why education is important to me, or why I want to dedicate my life in education, is because education personally changed my life, right? I mean, man, like, and even when I was still in school, I used to go to people's houses, whether you lived in a township or whether you lived where and where. I used to go into their living rooms, teach them maths for free. I didn't know that you could also charge money at the time. And I think based on the people I was teaching or where I was going to school, I don't think charging money would have been an option. I'm not sure. But I just did it because there was this sense that things like mathematics are hard, and I didn't believe that. Right? I thought maybe if I could show them in a different way, they might see that, because I need them to see that it is not as hard as they think. Because once they tap into that, you have opportunities galore. You can be an engineer, you can be an actuary, you can be an accountant, you can be... A lot of opportunities are on the other side of the education, a lot of the opportunities, right, that are easily accessible rather than risking everything, for example, on something like entrepreneurship.
Sure.
Right? It's much easier to go and be the accountant than it is probably to start an organization and, let it flourish. So for me, the reason why education is because I think I can do that, change people's lives that way, give them access to opportunities, and I want to do that at scale because I've seen the power of technology, right? So for me, that's the reason why I really want to be in education. I've always been from high school, university, and a little bit post-university, but I want to dedicate full time. That's what I love doing.
Sure.
Right? I just want to do it and then do it at scale now.
There's probably a reason behind that, whether it's a trauma or someone who helped you. You seeing education change your life, but probably there's someone who showed you that education can change your life, right? It's not something that you just you woke up and stumbled across. So I just want to know that reason. If you remember, where did it come from? This desire to want to change people's lives.
I won't lie to you. I had some very influential teachers, right? Teachers did a really good job in inspiring kids, right? Especially when they see you and they think you have potential. And they're just like, if you just work a little harder, or here's a textbook that, go read, because I remember grade 11, I think. I wanted to take on this subject that was called Maths Paper 3, right? Back in my day.
The best paper ever.
Yeah. So Maths Paper 3 covered probability and, Euclidean geometry and recursive sequences.
Yeah.
So when I went to my teacher, I tell him, I'm like, hey, Chief, I want to try this thing. The first teacher, D. Singh, actually said, Yongama, you have so much potential. Why are you just limiting yourself to this mathematics? Why don't you think of taking something
AP
more?
Maths, yeah.
Yeah, you could do AP Maths, could do this, right? So I went and looked those up. I came back, I then tried to go register. I go to my maths teacher. It says, why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting your time on something that doesn't count in your APS scores or whatever? Rather focus your time on the normal maths. He says this is February of grade 11. March control test comes. I get 100% for maths. That was my first 100. Right. The next guy had 60 something. So I had 100, then the next guy has 60 something. Then I take my 100, I go back to that guy, I'm like, I don't have to worry about maths. I want to do the other one, complete.
Yeah.
Right. And then he was like, okay, sure, you're on your own, let's go register. And with D-Sync and some other teachers, the one who suggested that I go look this up would give me textbooks. And, I used to spend break time in her class and stuff like that. So, and I also used to enter maths competitions and maths games. D-Sync would encourage that. So I think there were a lot of teachers. I'm just highlighting a very small piece of one, but it's a lot of teachers throughout my life.
Okay, so we've covered education, we've covered passion, things that you want to do, right? But men to men, we are growing up. I think I was sharing my story to say last year I almost got, or rather earlier this year, late last year, I almost got married.
I remember.
And then what about you? Are you looking into starting your own family? I know a traumatic experience that you had last year. If you're comfortable sharing, you can share. But also, where does love and relationship sit in your brain or list of priorities right now?
It's actually quite important. So right now I'm a bachelor.
Sure. If someone is looking.
If someone is looking, I'm a bachelor.
Sure.
Look, man, when the right person comes by, I'm not actively searching. I think they'll find me in the midst of my purpose.
Sure.
I genuinely think. But I hold family at a high esteem. Right now, I want to focus on the things we just talked about. I want to spend and dedicate my life within an education and technology space, growing that firm and growing young people. I want to find an avenue for that. Then, while I'm in pursuit of that, if I find a really, really wonderful lady who's kind, compassionate, has, someone I think would make a great partner who I can support and they can support me, who I think would be a great mother to potential children and stuff like that, then I definitely would consider, writing those lobola letters and sending them to her family. But for now, I just came out of, something that was almost there, right? And then a traumatic experience happened, and I'm not sure that person would be happy with me discussing that traumatic experience while she was part of it. So I'll just leave that there.
Sure.
But yeah, the family is quite important for me.
Did you ever heal from that traumatic experience from your side?
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Healing, have you made peace with it? Are you able to live your life and look beyond it? And if the right person was to locate you, would you be able to give your full self to them without necessarily comparing or wanting that almost happened wife situation?
Look, I can only speculate at this point.
Sure.
Right? I can only speculate. I'd like to think that if a new person comes by, look, I've made peace with it. That's what I know, right? But until certain things happen, maybe if I get someone pregnant, a new partner pregnant, maybe I'd be scared of a pregnancy now or things like that. Or, maybe I'd be scared to send a lobola letter because of, it would be like, remember what happened last time? Or, I don't know. But to me, I'd like to think I'm good. But until certain events happen, I can only speculate how I would act in those situations. Yeah, I think I've healed from it. I think I've made peace with it. Let me use more descriptive words. I've made peace with it. Yeah.
Okay. Did you try therapy, God? Because I remember we were having lunch the other day and this guy said, as we were, or rather, he brought a girl home. And you started praying in tongues. And then the girl was like, you know what we're trying to do is wrong. Let me get dressed. So in this finding peace journey, is it therapy that's helping you? Is it God? What are you learning? Where is your faith?
For me, it's community. So it's been my friends, it's been my family.
Sure.
I think if you have a certain group of people that you can talk to for counsel and seek counsel from, we've had chats,
Sure.
right? We can talk about these things man to man.
Sure.
And I think those kind of sessions are actually quite important. So for me right now, it's been a council of family and friends. I've wanted to go to church for some time. I don't know what's stopping me.
I remember I invited you to church.
I have been wanting to go to church for some time because when I was growing up, that was also a very big part of my arsenal of community.
Yeah.
I really want to establish that community here in Johannesburg as well. So, that's how I've been dealing with it. Not therapy, no.
Okay. Maybe the last two questions to close off, right? Obviously, YG Analytics will be growing. Ulwazi projects there and there might be coming up. What else can people look forward to when they see the name Yongama? What do you want them to associate it with?
Oh, that is a very big question. What do I want people to associate the name Yongama with?
Because I think we were talking again, right? There's going to be a Yongama Giwu award and whatnot. Those are good things that are happening back in your community. And I told you I'm going to start the Tsidiso Mahange Awards as well at my school, which is something that's coming up in 2025. But besides all of that, what else?
For me, right now, what I'm excited about, I can tell you that. What I'm excited about is I started employing at YG Analytics. Don't laugh. This man.
Yeah.
So I started employing at YG Analytics and this model that I'm working on. So what I mean by that is, man, we're in a country with a very high unemployment.
Sure.
very, very high unemployment. Youth unemployment, I think, is sitting at something close to 70%. Right.
Is it 70 now?
Yeah, it's very bad. Youth unemployment is absolutely bad.
Yeah.
So let me start. Yeah. So we're sitting in a country where youth unemployment is skyrocketing, right? And I've had a conversation with you about this, that I've started employing at YG Analytics, and there's this model that I'm trying where even if someone does not have the kind of qualifications that you and I have, I want to develop a structure where I employ someone young, take them through a very short data and analytics boot camp, if you may, while working for me, and then get them in as a junior analyst and they go from there, right? A way in which you can get young people employed in a sustainable way, paying them a salary or a stipend while they learn, and still giving contributions to the organization that is YG Analytics. So I'm trying to see if with the current person that I'm testing this on, can I replicate it with other people, young people that do come in? Because at the end of the day, as much as you and I have had conversations about, there's a lot of things that people could do. They could be entrepreneurs, they could be etc. But I think I want a pipeline to be created to fast track someone being a data analyst, someone getting into technology or any of these other critical skills in a way that they can absorb all this high unemployment. I can definitely do it by myself.
Sure.
But I just want to contribute somehow. So I really look forward in 2025 to growing YG Analytics with a bunch of young people. I want to see how that works, and I want to make sure it's sustainable from a company perspective as well, right?
Sure.
I'm looking forward to really giving that a try in 2025.
That's interesting. It speaks about the heart that you have, right? Because even at Ulwazi, I think going into next year, the pipeline is to get tutors that are graduates that are unemployed, right? And trying to say, you know what, you may have studied economics, you may have studied physics, but you're struggling to get a job. Let's test you, let's teach you how to teach a certain way that we teach, right?
Yeah.
So good luck with that. But we've got a closing tradition on this podcast where the previous guest leaves a question for the next guest, right?
Okay.
And here is, what is the smallest habit that you practice daily that works for you, and why or how did you start it?
A recent one.
Okay. I don't know. Talk about any habit that you think works to shaping Yongama today.
Yeah, so there's a habit. I've been changing habits a lot lately. I've been trying to become a better version of myself. This will sound very mundane and very common because you've heard it all the time. This time, Chief, I wake up, I take my smartwatch from my charger, I put it on, slap it on, freshen up a bit, go to the gym, do an hour, come back, and then go straight into my laptop. And the reason why I say that is my brain works like a monster in the morning. At night, I'm a bit sluggish. In the morning, ever since I've been in grade 10, I think. It's like wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go hostel, do 2 hours of some work, and then go take a shower before a hostel. There's this thing. You want to go to the shower before other kids because hot water. They're going to finish the hot water.
I think that's what we had at Marquardt as well.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. As a hostel, it had been a thing. So I've been waking up early for a very long time, but I don't do 3 o'clocks anymore. The new ritual that I find very helpful is to go get my brain fresh in the morning. And I think gym does a very, very good job at that. As you can tell, you know me, I haven't been a gym guy.
Sure.
You've had 75-day challenges and 30-day challenges. No, not so much. But it's a happy new tradition that I've seen working for me, paired with a healthy diet. That's been working quite wonders on both. So, yeah, that's my morning tradition.
Sure. All right. Bro, thank you so much for honoring me with your presence. I hope God blesses you with everything that you want and YG Analytics grows and becomes this monster that you want it to be. You get to employ, because I think the strategy that we spoke about literally is going to change South African unemployment and also the access to certain skills, because companies are looking for degrees and whatnot, but also a certain group of people require degrees. Other ones, it's just favorites. So all the best with that. And
thanks, man.
Hope to
Thanks
see.
for having me. This is a really good thing that you're doing here, man.
Yes, bro.
I really hope to see your podcast flourish Yeah, no, all the best with Ulwazi as well. We're gonna collaborate anyway, so
Sure.
yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Cool.
Cheers.
Is that
Cheers.
it?
Yep.
Thank you for making it through to the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Yongama, and he dropped so many gems. I mean, looking at the power of education on its own, education can definitely change someone's life. So please share this episode with someone in the education space or at school that doesn't see why they need to be there. And I hope this episode can be able to change their minds and help them see that wherever you are, whichever background you come from, it doesn't really matter. With education, you can shape a better future for yourself. So please do that for me, and I'll see you in the next episode.